Thank you very much. Apologies, everyone, for being late. I had the privilege of being at the opening of Clipper Wind Power's project this morning, which is a very, very exciting project here in the Northeast. But I apologise for being late, and it's a pleasure to have the chance to be with you. Can I start by thanking the sponsors, all the sponsors of this very, very important event here, including One Northeast, and I think they are doing a fantastic job at leading the development of the Northeast as a powerhouse for the low-carbon industry of the future. So thank you to them and to everyone else who's involved in this event. This is more familiar territory for, at least this area is more familiar territory for the other Milliband, who some of you may have heard of. He's actually not here today because he's got responsibilities with Majesty the Queen, so he's in London, I think, today. But doing this job as Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change, we often get confused because he was once the Environment Secretary, and I have to confess to you that my low moment over the last 18 months of this job was when I was chairing a meeting about rainforests in Poland a year or so ago, and the German minister, who up to then had been a friend of mine, began his remarks by referring to me as David and ended them by referring to me as David. And I made the mistake of saying to him, Sigmar, you've been calling me by my brother's name, why is that? And he said, and this is where things get lost in translation, he said, it's because when your brother was Environment Secretary, he and I spent so many wonderful nights together. At which point it was quite hard to concentrate on rainforests. I won't speak for ages because it's important for me at these events to hear from you and not to just give a sort of politician's speech. So let me just make 4 points, just by way of introduction in a way to our discussion. First, I think it is really, really important to say that the low-carbon revolution and the low-carbon trends across the world are happening, notwithstanding what happened at Copenhagen. Adam was with me at Copenhagen through many long nights. Don't get the wrong idea. Copenhagen was definitely a disappointment to me and to lots of people across the world. However, unlike something like the World Trade Talks, where until you get an agreement, nothing really happens, across the world, we see countries going down the road of low carbon. And China may have had arguments with us at Copenhagen, but they are powering ahead with renewable energy. So are many other countries. I was in Abu Dhabi in January, similarly there in the Gulf, building a carbon-free city. And so the first point I want to make is this revolution is happening, and the question is, who's going to take advantage of it? And personally, I think that here in Britain, but also particularly here in the Northeast, you and us are uniquely well placed to take advantage of it, providing we do the right things. And they're the other 3 points I want to make. What are the right things? My second point is that the first ingredient of doing the right thing is around the domestic market and the domestic decisions you make on energy and the wider low-carbon revolution. So the thing we've learned, take the wind industry. We're not leaders at the moment in onshore wind manufacturing. Other countries are. And what have we learned about that? And people remember Vestas last summer and the closure of the Vestas plant in the Isle of Wight. The thing we've learned about that is that the best place that you can get to in terms of being a leader in manufacturing is if you're a leader in generation. So we've not been a leader in onshore wind generation, and that has made it harder for us to be the place where the onshore wind turbines get made. Now, the interesting and exciting thing about offshore wind is we are the leader. We're the leader in the world in offshore wind generation. There's about 2 gigawatts being generated across the world, about 1 gigawatt in the UK. So we're almost as much as the whole of the rest of the world put together. And what's even more exciting is there's another 32 gigawatts that we've announced. So orders of magnitude more being developed.